Alright, as promised, I made this video. Sorry for posting it late. I'm just going to walk through the homework again. We're going to do 30.2 first. So if you look at this, I kind of summarized that big long paragraph. We have our crack that's breaking the field in half, that's running across the field with this parametric set. And then we have Reyna, who's running across the field trying to escape the crack, who's moving at that rate. So first, let's focus on the crack. So we want to write a linear equation. We've been calling that rectangular as well. So what we need to do is write y of x, which is one way to say it, or just y. So if we look at this, we want to take this equation and put it in terms of x. So what we need to do is we always take our x and put it in, we solve it for t. So what we do first is take our x equation and try to get t by itself. So to do this, it was pretty quick. We just get t equals x over 6. So second step will always be to plug that into our y. So if y equals 25 plus 2t, we plug that in. Where we see t, we plug this in. So we get 25 plus 2 times x over 6. So if we just do our math, we get 25 plus 2x over 6, and then we just try to reduce. So we get y equals 25 plus x over 3. So that's the crack. Now for Reyna, we do the same method. First step is to take our x and try to get t by itself. This one just has more steps. First we subtract the 240. And then we divide by negative 4.5. And we can break that apart, x divided by negative 4.5. And then plus, and we do 240 divided by 4.5. And we get positive 53.3 repeating equals t. So same second step then, plug it back into the equation for y. So we do y equals 15 plus 3t. We're substituting t in, so we get 3 times x divided by negative 4.5 plus 53.3 repeating. So if we distribute that 3, we get 15 plus 3x over negative 4.5. And then if we multiply this out, we get plus 110. So if we start cleaning stuff up, this 3 over negative 4.5 can simplify to negative 2/3 x. And then if we add those two terms together, we get 125. Except for that's not the case. That should be 160. And this should be 175. So those are our two functions. The next thing we have to do is to try to figure out the intersection point. So we could graph it, we could do whatever. This is not on the quiz, so we are just going to do this quickly. We take the one for the crack, which is 25 plus x over 3. And then we take the one for Reyna, which is negative 2/3 x plus 175. And then we just start solving for x. So I'm just going to move this over because it's positive. And that just turns into x. And then subtract this over, so x is by itself. So we get x is equal to 150. That's our x value, but we need to find the intersection point, which is x and y. So we can plug this into either equation for y. I just like this one because it looks a bit cleaner. So y equals 25 plus x over 3. So y equals 25 plus 150 over 3. So y equals 25 plus 50. So y equals 75. So our final answer is 150.75. That means where the crack's path meets Reyna's path is at 150.75. 16 said make an equation to actually solve for the distance between the two of them, I said skip it. We're not going to worry about that. So what we need to do next is figure out the time, how much it takes for them each to reach it. Again, this is not going to be on the quiz, so we're going to go through this quickly. So what we want to figure out is how long does it take to reach this intersection point for each of our crack and the person Rena. If we look at the crack, we have both the x and the y, so we were just trying to figure out which is the simplest of those two. 6t is way simpler than 25 plus 2t, so we're going to use that. So if x is equal to 6t, this is our x term, so we're going to use that. So 150 equals 6t. So we just divide by 6. That would be 25 equals t. And in class, we didn't really check our units, but here it does say still don't see it. So 25 is our time. So that means it takes 25 units for the crack to meet where the paths cross. If we now check for Rena, if we're just trying to look at this, which one is the simplest, I would probably go towards this one because it has smaller numbers and whole numbers. So again, our intersection point of those two things, the crack and Rena, is 150.75. But now we're going to use the y value just because it hopefully will make our math a bit easier. So our y value is 75, and the equation for our y value is 15 plus 3t. So once we start trying to solve for t, we subtract on both sides to get 60 equals 3t. Divide by 3, so we get 20 equals t, which means it takes 25 units for the crack. So we have this field, right? The crack in the field is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But Rena, who's trying to run across the field, is trying to get there before the crack divides the field in two. So Rena gets here. Rena gets here after 20, let's just say 20 seconds. The crack gets there after 25 seconds. So Rena crosses the field before the crack divides it in two. So that's the answer for 17. So what you really need to focus on for the quiz, for what you really need to understand, is just number 14 of how to combine an x and a y in parametric to create a linear or rectangular function.